The meeting of October 3rd, Natural Resources Board, City of Sebastian. We are now in session. May we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the May we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Gordian?
Present.
Ms. Glazier?
Here.
Mr. Clifton? Here. Ms. Lucier is excused. Mr. O'Neill? Here. Ms. Mosblack? Mr. Stadelman? Here. You have a quorum.
Okay, we're good to go. I'd like to introduce Lisa Frazier. She's our new Community Development Director for the City of Sebastian. Welcome her, and we'll see how we can work together in establishing some good points on our side as well as yours, and how you can help us out at the same time in communicating with the city.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm Lisa Leger Frazier. I'm the new Community Development Director. Trying to get used to saying that, week 3. I'm very excited to be here. I've worked in Indian River County for many years, mostly as a private consultant. I was with Kimley Horn for a long time. I have my master's degree in environmental planning from FIT, and I actually live in Brevard County. So you must realize that natural resources and environmental protection are very near and dear to my heart, and I look forward to working with this board and in improving the environmental sustainability, if you will, of this city, which you are off to a great start already. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
It's been 3 months since our last meeting, and maybe we should just introduce everyone from right to left, as you see it, and just a quick synopsis of why you were interested in joining the group.
So my name is Nikki Mosblack, and I'm joining as of the end of May, but this is my first official meeting. So my interest in being here, I am actually an environmental science teacher, and I really wanted to see, what kind of a difference I could make to help, again, the city of Sebastian improve its sustainability for the long term.
Okay, my name is Jim Clifton. I've been on the board for a little while now. I have a master's in biology and spent 33 years of my life doing municipal wastewater treatment. And as I retired, I thought this might be a logical place for me to continue contributing to the community that I currently live in.
Good evening. My name is Brian O'Neill, and I retired here to Sebastian about 3 years ago. I've been a lifelong surfer. I spent a lot of time in the ocean. I used to come up here because when I was in high school, surfing at Sebastian, went camping, and I'm very interested in what's happening with the oceans right now. Water is a very critical issue for all of us, as we know. So I'm excited to be part of this, and such a beautiful place. We want to keep it that way, right?
My name is Gil Gordian. I retired from New York City 8 years ago, and hopefully I'm a neighbor and continue to be a resident here in the city of Sebastian. I worked for the Wildlife Conservation Society for 37 years, working with exotic animals and nature, as well as in-house. That's about it, and resided after I retired, came down to Sebastian.
Hi, I'm Rose Glazer. I studied environmental horticulture and went to floral design school. Moved to Florida in '99 and decided to get more involved here, and went and took my Florida Master Naturalist courses so I could learn about the Florida ecology, since everything was now tropical. And came to the city actually and applied for a job, and when they saw my background, they told me that I should try to get on the board here, so that's how I actually got on the board. So it's good.
My name is Charles Stadelman. I just wanted to see where I could serve the community. We've got the list, and this is number one.
Welcome.
Yep.
Yeah,
thank you.
welcome.
Guess next on our list, to nominate chair and a vice chair. Is it in order for us to do that now? I mean, we are missing one person here. Or does anyone else want to nominate a chair or a vice chair?
You do have a quorum, so if, it's unfortunate that Anna's not here. In her email, she did not voice whether she wanted to serve in any of those positions, so it's up to this board, but we do need to move forward with at least a chair.
Any nominees?
We don't know anybody.
Basically, yeah, the job
it's-
description is basically very simple.
Well, right, I'm sorry, Mr., am I saying it right, Gordian?
Yes.
Gordian, okay. If you'd like to give the job description, that's fine. But, basically, a chair position on any kind of board or committee is just the individual who runs the meeting, calls it to order, follows the agenda, calls the different agenda items. If you follow Robert's Rules of Order, then that means, let's say Ms. Glazer would like to speak, she gets recognized by the chair. You don't have to be that formal in this kind of setting. You do not have to be, but if you're following Robert's Rules of Order, that's typically what happens, and that's the role that the chair maintains. They maintain if public wants to come up and speak, they, maintain that they can only have a certain amount of time and they must address the board, and they maintain the decorum, if you will, of the meeting, of the public meeting. A vice chairperson does nothing unless the chair cannot serve, and then they need to step in and take that role. So if you've had any experience sitting on boards or committees or even leading a board or committee, it's fairly easy, and we are here to assist you through that whole process. So if you want to step up, we welcome your service.
I'd be happy to be vice chair, but
I'd like to be vice chair.
well, to do nothing part sounded good.
Well, watch that, because I've chose vice chair many times, and I've ended up being the chair, going, oh, good gravy.
But yeah, I don't know experience, so.
But let's go first
I would
with
like to
chair.
nominate Jim Clifton
Yeah, there you go.
for chair.
Let's second that.
Will you
Anyone
accept
on a
it?
second?
Yeah, second, sure.
We have a second. Yay.
Yay.
Now what's next?
I'm sorry, did you do a vote?
We need to,
Okay.
the board needs to vote.
Jim, I'm sorry, are you willing to serve?
Turn on my mic. Do that, yes.
Wonderful.
Our nomination for vice chair.
I'm sorry, did we have a vote? I didn't hear a vote being called. Call the question. All those in favor
All
of,
those in favor?
Yay.
Aye.
Yay.
Aye.
okay.
Do we have a nominee for vice president? Or vice chair, sorry.
Nominate Gil? Would you like to do that again?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And, I'm sorry, Lisa, can you reintroduce the young lady next to you?
Oh, I am so very sorry. This is Margarita Hernandez, and she is our Parks Administrator. I apologize. A lot of you wouldn't know her because you're new on the board. I'm sorry, Margarita.
Her title is?
Parks
Oh,
Administrator.
okay. Thank you.
So do we want to call the vote again?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, if you two gentlemen would like to maybe switch spots or so.
There you go.
Being
Formal-
technical.
Very formal.
Sorry,
very
Bill.
technical. No horns, nothing?
A little housekeeping. We have to do the housekeeping. Thank you.
Is that you, Jim, or me? I gotta slide over? Jesus, musical chairs.
And it's been a long time since, so my Robert's rules may be rough, and I might as well get it out of the way. I will not be at next month's meeting, so Gil, please try to be available.
Thank you.
Okay. Approval of minutes from the last meeting. And from what I see, Rose and myself were the only two members that were present. I don't know if you can approve the minutes without a quorum vote, but we were the only two that were present, therefore we're the only two that can.
I move that we
Vote.
approve the minutes.
I'll second that. And we'll approve them as presented. Okay, where are we? Close. Okay, approval minutes. Do we have anybody present for public input?
I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Chair. Could you call the question about the meeting minutes? I did not hear a vote on that.
We need to approve the
No,
meeting.
not, I guess, yeah. Rose and I are the only two that can vote on it.
Right.
You can
Rose
still, you
affirmed-
can still all
I
vote.
affirm that they are approved, and Rose? Yes? No?
Yes,
Okay.
so we need a vote
Is
through
that-
everybody?
You still need a vote from the whole board, yes.
Oh,
They can still approve it.
even though they weren't, I
Yes.
thought only people that were present could,
No.
okay.
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay. Next item, public input.
Which one's on? This one?
Yes.
Hi, Andrea Ring, former chair.
It's strange to see you there.
I just want to let you know the board does a great job, and last year you did a lot, and we had a very good Earth Day, and we had bands all day. We really did have a good one, and hopefully next year we'll have a good one too. But we also did a lot as a board. We did support the Boy Scouts and the Oyster Mats, and we have our little plaque out there. And we also encouraged the Power Squadron to do their little thing separate, and they went out and did the bags, and I guess they have a lot of bags out there. So your board has been trying to do things for the water. And one of the things that you all are after, that's why I was wondering where Vicki was, and they all are after the amount of pesticides that are going into the waterways. And we have not been able, and from what I've been hearing around, our city of Sebastian does not have enough that makes a difference. You know what I'm saying? We just don't, even if we need to go bigger. We need to get to the county. And if you're interested in anything with the waterways, I think we need to go to the county and get it on the agenda and ask them what they're planning to do. We need to go to St. John's Waterway. because we need to, and that's going to have to be county level. And I don't think this, and you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to go intergovernmental. So that's one thing, and that's Vicky was always into that. The other thing is the sewer, water to sewer connection. And this county is postponing that because of the hurricane. I guess 5 months they've asked. I got that at last city council meeting. 5 months they put back the the sewer hookup. And we hosted, those people from that one development. They came and talked to Mr. Vincent Burke about the sewer. And I still feel that the charge for sewer is too much. And I am personally going to go to and try to get my name on the next county meeting, which is the next Tuesday, 2 Tuesdays away, in the morning, and talk to them about the rates. Because if you want to hook up to sewer, and we have had now a lot of businesses hooked up to the current sewer pipe that goes through the city. I think there's been 4 or 5 businesses now that have hooked up to the current sewer. And we're going to get a second sewer pipe through. And this was for the residents. And that one development that came and talked to us, even though they're not in the city, but you realize sewer is not city, sewer is county. The city has nothing to do with sewer. So we talked to him, Mr. Burke, and he has come back with a very nice amount of money that they're going to charge each person for hookup. They're not charging the exorbitant amount. But the other thing that he told us was that sewer is twice your water bill, which to me is exorbitant. Water bill is very, very high. I think sewer should be at a constant standard rate. And so when all these people and all the citizens here in Sebastian hook up, I think we need to go to the county and say, we need a rate. Just don't tell us it's going to be twice our water bill. Who knows what our water bill is going to be, So anyway, just to let you know, I'm going to go to the next one. And if anybody wants to go and talk about to the county about the amount of pesticides being used in the St. John's waterway, that are 2 issues that I think the board needs to look at. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you. And thank you for serving on the board.
Yes.
Yes. Any other public input?
Now, I have a question for Lisa. I'm totally ignorant about this. Is there federal money if the city proceeds with the sewer project? Is there federal and county money involved in that, or is it strictly City of Sebastian?
And by the sewer project, what specifically are you referring to? Because
is the grant money offered
the
to
sewer
city of
force main, is being installed by the county and is being paid for by the county, correct?
Right. Is there any federal money involved in that also?
I don't know if
Assisting.
they have or not. I do not know that, but I do know that the state and federal governments, there's different grants that one can apply for to assist property owners in the construction cost that they incur from having to hook up. Because be aware that once sewer is available to you, your septics, you are legally bound to then hook up to the sewer system. And so the state and the federal government and the city of Sebastian have recognized that that is a cost, a real cost to property owners for the construction, and there are ways of funding that, or at least assisting with that. The impact fees, we do not have those dollars.
Another second question, is there an outline map of the present system now, let's say off of Route 1? Is there anything available to us that we can get a look at?
A utility line map? Certainly, absolutely. I'm sorry, this is my third weekend. I haven't even seen it, but I cannot imagine that we don't have a utility map of the sewer system and the water system. And we can absolutely get that from the county. And in fact, if you look on the county website, they have their maps. You can just click on it yourself. I would imagine that they would have a utility map right on the county website, because as was rightly pointed out, that is a county service.
And are you talking about the new lines that they're going to be putting in?
Yes, and then
Yeah,
future
About a year
projections.
ago, Frank gave us the
A while
design
Yeah, for me, it was,
drawings for that.
I couldn't really read that. It was
Oh,
kind of,
okay.
kind of vague and as far as
Yeah.
blurriness in the
Okay.
image, yeah.
But it should be available online, I would think. Okay. Guess that we'll move down to new business. Earth Day celebration, item A. We have a brochure or a announcement, save the date announcement in front of us. Have you been updated on budget and all that, Rose, or,
I have not been updated on the budget.
okay.
With your permission, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
I'd like to introduce once again Margarita Hernandez, and she is our Parks Administration, and she is going to assist in coordinating this event with all of you. That's what her job is. She does a fabulous job coordinating all the events within our public parks and facilities. Now, this evening, we'll want to discuss, we've already found the budget or the amount of money that was allocated for this event, but also Margarita has a list of different responsibilities that this board has taken on in the past, and we'll be asking you to please either think about what you would like to do and what task you'd like to take on, or speak up and say yay this evening. But some of you may need a little bit more time to mull over everything, but that's what Margarita would like to present and discuss with you
Okay.
now.
Well, actually, having someone on staff participate will be wonderful, because in the past, it's been 100% the board's responsibility to carry it all out, so.
Well, and that really hasn't changed. It's just that Margarita will be there to help you coordinate things that you might need from the city.
Okay.
I mean, we'll do everything we can to assist you, obviously, but in the past, this has been this board's responsibility. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
Mr. Chair, if I may interrupt real quick,
Sure.
for the public's information, because they'll be watching and hearing us this evening, it's actually, the date is set for April 22nd, I believe?
21st.
21st, Saturday, April 21st, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So it was a little bit extended from last year, and that's great. We definitely,
It's the same as last
we
year.
need the vendors to come out, and I think Rose still has the list for that. And our bands probably will remain the same for entertainment.
They're all willing, if that's okay with the board?
Yeah,
Margarita?
that sort of thing, and we'll fill in Margarita on the vendors that do come, food-wise, positioning and stuff like that. We'll coordinate with her on that, and who is coming as far as food vendors and whatnot.
Yes, and I'm sorry for interrupting. As Ms. Lisa Frazier stated, my name's Margarita Hernandez. I'm the Parks Administrator. It's a pleasure to meet you all, or some of you I've already met. I'm here because, yes, I do help from the city's perspective coordinate all of the events, including this one. And when I say from the city's perspective, I mean usually the city will assist, the event organizers for this Earth Day event with placing the event banner, setting up the PA system, the stage, any, aspect from the city that the city normally provides, providing cones for the parking lot, barricades, and proper signage, etc. Now, being that we have new board members, as Ms. Frazier stated, it would be good to write down and have an idea as to who from the board will be helping out with the vendors, with the, including the state food vendor permit, Indian River County Fire Rescue Permit, because in the past, all of these tasks have been the responsibility of the board members. So last year, the board was responsible for vendors, Indian River County Fire Rescue Permit, providing the city with a park layout of the event, who's going to be monitoring this budget for this year, which I believe is $1,500. I set the amounts and last year's expenditures on your desks, for lack of a better word. Who's going to be in charge of the activities, the entertainment, and the advertising? So just because, like I stated, there's new board members, it would be good to get an idea as to who's going to be doing this, because I, being the liaison for the city when it comes to events, I do get a lot of phone calls from the public, including vendors, wanting to know, okay, who can I call to become a vendor? Where do I register, etc. So as Ms. Frazier stated, even if you don't come up with who's going to be in charge of what today, it would be good to have it in mind, and maybe at the next meeting, we can decide as to who's going to be in charge of what. But anyway, I look forward to working with all of you, and that's it for now, I guess.
Mr. Chair,
Designating.
Designating individuals to do that?
Mr. Chair, may I
I
speak?
believe- Yes, go ahead, Rose.
I've already accepted being the chairperson of the celebration again. I have a very good rapport with the vendors, the musicians. I have taken care of waste management for the last 2 years of having our dumpster brought in and the recycling for the paper shredding and electronics. I have brought in curb, and I have done the fire permit with the county and given them a map and requested the check ahead of time. I also have taken care of the state food permit and have the name and contacts for that. We have the list for the city as far as the barricades. All of that will be the same again this year. The budget will be a little bit less because last year we had spent $84 on a banner that we had to replace. And
We're up to 2,000.
activities were a little bit high with the rock painting and stuff, so maybe that will be narrowed down. I see on the expenditures, there was a check listed to me, but it's not itemized. I would like to say that was taken care of, the rock painting supplies, the rocks, the thank you notes. I personally had to pay the ad for Hometown News of $165 and expenses for the chalk, so I can give you itemized lists if you need it, but
You shouldn't have to pay that again this year.
true. But anyway, I have this all under control. Most of the vendors are already coming back for next year. All the musicians are willing to come back. Everybody thinks it's a good, positive day. I would like to ask for help for maybe activities, advertising. At the last minute, it gets kind of boggled down. I work full-time, so
I work in the advertising business, is what I do.
there you go.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to help in the advertising for our event?
Yes, ma'am.
As I was
Next week,
going
yeah.
to say before Rose picked up, Rose is our point person for that activity. Last year, she did her, and with Ann's help, they did a phenomenal job. And it's just one more year, and I can't see her letting the ball down at this point in time. She does it very well and very professionally. So I'm very confident. Margarita, you just need to get up with Rose, and she'll answer all your questions for you. And we do talk about it and discuss it at each meeting between now and then. And as far as Earth Day itself, I perceive that we would do same as we did last year, and it was all hands on deck. It was a long day, but it was a fun day. So, that as far as this group goes, we set the day aside and spend the day at the park.
Are there any corporate-type sponsorships available for this thing? I've reached out to for some of my friends in the special events department at
Are we
Oxford.
allowed, being a city entity, to get
Not allowed?
sponsorships?
We'll have to look into that, but, I mean, Ms. Glazer, did
city's
you
lawyer.
have outside entities?
We were told in the past, no, because we're not allowed to like pick and choose and have any names. But last year, they did let us put Home Depot and Walmart's name on our paperwork for their contributions, so.
We'll ask that question and get back with you at the next meeting, but I think that's a wonderful idea.
Good.
So if I could ask for someone to help out with the activities to help get people into the park that day and to keep them in,
I'd be happy.
that would be great.
Sure.
I'll act as acting DJ or what have you, announcements and.
I appreciate that. You do a good job.
Question and answers with the band also, and get them set up, as well as roam the park.
Anything else on Earth Day? Okay.
Also look into the animal part of it, see if we can bring some animals.
Remember, we're not the Wildlife Festival, though. We're Earth Day.
It incorporates that. It
Yay.
incorporates it.
So then Mr. Stadelman is going to help with the advertising, and Mr. Gordian is going to help with the activities. I hope I am not mispronouncing your last names.
Correct.
Yes?
Fine.
Okay, thank you.
Brian said he was going to help with activities.
Yeah, I can do that.
And
I can
Gil's
help
going
too.
to be doing the DJing on the stage, introducing the
there you go.
bands and doing the questions for the, what? Not scavenger hunt. What do we call it? We had questions and answers to give away our door prizes, and Gil took care of that last year,
Okay,
last couple of years.
thank you for the clarification.
If I may, Mr. Chair? Where's the banner? Where'd we stash it? For you, for the new members, you may be wondering, one of the reasons why we do this event is because the city of Sebastian is a tree city with the National Arborist Association. Some of you may be aware of that, some of you may not. But one of the criteria that they use to make us or give us that entitlement is that we must do a celebration for Arbor Day / Earth Day, some type of celebration, a community celebration, so that it brings that awareness to the community. So we have the banner, Ms. Glazer, the Tree City banner. Shall I keep it in our office? We can use it we should use it for the event, or shall I give it to you? I mean, it's up to you. I just want you all to be aware that it's here. I can bring it out if you'd like to see it. I don't know how the camera works.
Oh, nice.
I think I've got it correct, yes?
I can go on the stage.
Isn't that nice?
Very
Yeah,
nice.
Very nice.
Looks very nice on you.
So I just wanted you to be aware.
We have a closet here, and we could put it in there with our other items.
Perfect.
That's very nice.
Excellent.
But that is one of the reasons why we hold this event and the importance of it.
Is it any particular type of tree or just any tree?
Hey, anything else on Earth Day? Traditionally or historically, since I've been on the board, we haven't done anything with Arbor Day. You're saying we fold Arbor Day into Earth Day?
If you look at the announcement, it says Earth Day, Arbor Day celebration.
It was always a
Oh,
combined.
okay.
Bringing in all the plants and native plants is all part
It's
of
a
Arbor.
big tent.
Okay. come up.
Sure. It's a free country.
There are rules and regulations as to when you're allowed to talk. But, you know, we also have the Champion Tree Program. That's what I wanted to bring up. Mr. James Gifton has done a great job on a brochure that we have, and it's printed, and it's a Champion Tree Program. And we have a champion tree down in the park that oak is on the register. So we have a state, and we also have city champion tree program. Thank you, Mr. And we have a website out there. It's on our website.
Okay, great.
I do have a tree you need to look at.
Oh, okay. Anything else on Earth Day? And sorry, I neglected to notice the Arbor Day piece on that, but, okay. Next item on the agenda is the role of the Natural Resources Board, and we've got a sheet in our packet. That has the missions to Natural Resources Board creation. The second page of that describes how it was derived. There used to be, I'm looking for it, a tree. Did you want to take this, Lisa, or?
Absolutely. Again, third week. However, it has come to my attention, it has come to the attention of the city, I should say, that this board would like to be more involved, more engaged, and so I thought, since we have new members and old members, that I would bring it back to what you were established for, what your missions are, what your goals are, and then have a discussion, with your permission, on other activities that are currently happening in the city, give you an idea of what's going on and the opportunity to jump in if you'd like, and just, you know, hear from you, feedback from you, how you would like to be more involved in what the city is doing. So I made a quick list. Some of the things that we do have funded and are currently working on. One of the main things, since we're going to stay on the tree city and Arbor Day subject for a moment, is that we have funded a tree preservation plan. There are those in the city, and the city council has absolutely supported the need for us, especially in the Riverside Park area, to look at the trees there, come up with a maintenance preservation plan for those trees, but to also come up with a, what do I want to say, a plan for replacing those trees. They won't live forever. Some of them are live oaks. They can, the joke is with live oaks is that they're dead long before you know that they're dead. So they want us to come up with a filler plan, if you will. What are we going to do when these trees start passing on? That is something that my department will begin to work on, and I would really appreciate being able to bring that plan to you all and get your feedback and get your input and support for that plan prior to it going to the council for a final blessing. I thought maybe that would be one thing. It's been brought up, obviously, the sewer to septic program. Our CRA has a very vibrant sewer to septic program. Sewer to septic, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, septic to sewer, wrong way. Wrong way, we're not going backwards. Where we actually have funds in our budget to, again, assist the property owners in the CRA only at this point with their construction costs in order to hook up to the sewer. We have received dollars from the Indian River Lagoon Council for that. We have funds coming from our general fund. And in my past job, I was successful in receiving state money to further that assistance. And so I would be happy to do that again. But One thing that this board could act as, and should, I'm sure just by virtue of you all being here, you already do, but being ambassadors for these programs are very, very important to us as staff, that we have you citizens out there in the community telling the community about these programs, supporting these programs, and talking about them even more than we can, because it's rather surprising to us that we have put out notices and letters and identified everyone who we could assist, and we're still not getting enough people coming forward saying, yes, we need your assistance. So again, being ambassadors with that, we'd like you to be, we'll try to keep you apprised of our progress as we move forward, if that would be beneficial to you. I know that you've already asked for a utility map. That's on my checklist also. Another project is the oyster bag installation. We have received a grant from the Indian River Lagoon Council to do I guess you all already did the Boy Scout mats, correct? Mm-hmm. We are actually installing some over at the working waterfront. And we have the permits, we are waiting on one more permit, and we will then be putting these mats together and putting them in the water, and perhaps when that happens, we make it a community event. That is something we're still trying to figure out how we're going to do that. I think that would be wonderful if this board was involved with that. Maybe you can get some of your teachers, and I know you're already perking up.
Lisa, you
Yes.
can put me down for that.
Okay.
Because I'm involved on the waterway.
Wonderful. And if you all aren't aware, oysters have been identified as nature's little filter feeders for our waterways, and so we are trying to encourage the reestablishment of them. That is about all that I have at this moment.
Chair, I just have one comment on, as far as our Tree City and maybe our job description. Where I used to work up in New York, it was only 250 acres, but it incorporated 5 institutions. What we did, or what horticulture did, the Department of Horticulture at the park, was identify the species in the park and doing the demographics on individual species, whether it was if there was 5 sugar maples, they were identified, did a age test on them. Same thing with oaks and some of the hardwoods that were in the park. Just a quick example, one exhibit had 42 trees in it at one time. 10 years later, there was only 7 left. So due to impaction and compaction on the earth, you cannot tag every tree in the city of Sebastian, but some of the more important trees, maybe they can be a tag on a number. If a branch comes down and city workers happen to see it, they can just take a quick note, what number of tree. Let's say you did 200 trees and marked them. There's a little tag from 1 to 300, 1 to 200 on some of the trees that are more vital in the city of Sebastian, whether it's an endangered species in our area, so to speak, that kind of thing. I think that might be helpful, and that could be a project that perhaps we can get involved.
Mr. Chair, let me clarify. I understand exactly what you're saying, Mr. Gordian, and I couldn't agree more. However, let me just clarify that the tree preservation plan that's been funded, it's being funded with CRA dollars, so that initial preservation plan is going to be concentrated within the CRA and specifically Riverside Park.
Is it okay to speak? May I ask a question just about the septic to sewer program? That is currently only available to commercial businesses along the US 1 area, if I'm not mistaken? Or is it available to citizens within the city of Sebastian?
The septic to sewer program that I am talking about is in the CRA, and it's throughout the CRA if it's residential or commercial.
Where is the map of the CRA? Where can we get?
We could get you a map of the CRA, absolutely. It's mainly everything east of the river, or I'm sorry, east of the river, east of the railroad tracks, plus the triangle, that goes off into 512, the split. So those are that's generally the area of the CRA. And right now, the funding is for that area only. However, there are discussions in the works to expand it.
I just had one more question. The oyster bags, have there been any studies or anything done to test their effectiveness and how well the oysters are establishing on those bags or on those reefs that they've been putting out there?
Yes, ma'am. It's my understanding that FIT has done extensive studies on that, as well as, I want to say the Nature Conservancy, because they funded some of the initial oyster mat building, if you will, that has been performed along the Indian River Lagoon. Specifically, I couldn't tell you reference right now, but there's this thing called Google that I would recommend. I'm sure there's many references that would come up.
I totally understand that. I was just wondering if the sites that were done locally, if people had checked back on them and seen if there were oysters established there.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
No, that's okay.
That I don't know, that I have not heard. I am specifically discussing a future oyster mat that we are going to be putting down at the working waterfront. So I don't know how, and perhaps Mr. Gordian has that answer.
We did have, when the Boy Scouts set the 300 bags or so, plus in front of Riverview Park, they were monitored one day a month, and to see if there was any viability in those oysters, if anything was growing. It would take about a year and a half to really decipher that. So it's an ongoing thing. And when John Giordano, who set the project in place last year, he goes out, he takes a look, he took a video. Right now, there's so much siltation in the water and all the muck from the hurricanes and the winds that you can't really look at it. It has to subside a few days and then get out there again. And it's only several yards out from the park, along the shoreline. We did have, and before that, we did have the lagoon folks come out, and they took a look at what areas along the shoreline would be a feasible spot to lay the oyster bags down. And under their recommendation, as well as two other people that came out and spoke to us about a decent location.
The bags in that location were laid down at Earth Day 2016.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're coming up to
Year and a half.
a year and a half. Yeah. Okay, very exciting.
How much interaction do we have with the Indian River Lagoon Council, right?
It depends on the individual. I mean, I adopted 3 islands out there, so I'm always in communication with them.
As a board, we don't have any direct communication with them. Okay, going down through this mission and duties, do we see anything we'd like to add, consider?
Find my sheet.
I don't actually see any mention of, or maybe I'm missing it, but I don't see any mention of concerns with the sewer, septic, those kinds of issues. Stormwater, and shortly we'll see that I've got some concerns in that particular area. I don't know if we want to consider some wording maybe for consideration at the next meeting or something like that to bring to the group. for additional mission duties. Is that feasible, or do we want to craft something tonight?
I think we could leave it to the agenda.
Bring it back
So
next,
that's not covered under preservation and enhancement or anything like that, or?
well, relative to the trees and
Right.
things like that, it's
Okay.
specific, and it doesn't, there's no mention here of
Waterway management.
Mm-hmm.
waterway,
Yeah.
anything.
Or at least water quality in some way,
I'm sorry?
perhaps. Mentioning like water quality, enhancing water quality. I mean,
Maybe, I will just throw it out there that we individually give some thought to other interests and
Yeah.
things that you feel this natural resources.
Certainly it
Board should be
encompasses water,
concerned with and-
water quality issues, of course, right? I
And
mean,
if you do draft up a few statements, and we can bring them to the next meeting, get them to us ahead of time, so we can actually compile them perhaps. Lisa, would that be feasible to you?
If I could clarify, please, what it is you are asking or requesting. Are you requesting that we may consider modifying the ordinance?
Yes.
And adding additional mission and duties? Is this what you're, okay.
Broadening the scope.
Broadening the scope. May I point out that under regulatory programs guidance, that does, item B, it does say proposals for development of additional areas of environmental protection regulations that may be a little too broad for, I believe, what you're discussing. But also under public assets, item B, it says developing environmental best management practices. Just wanted to point that out for your consideration. But absolutely, we will take your recommendations.
Depending on our interpretation, we can use those. I'll leave
You're
it to
gonna add
the,
a water component kind of to it, right?
Yeah.
I would certainly think I would assume it already does lie under that qualification, especially if we're considering the septic to sewer program already, which would relate to water quality. I don't know how difficult it is to change an ordinance. No? Okay.
There are just steps that we need to follow, and it would obviously have to go to City Council for 2 public hearings.
or we could go with what's under regulatory programs guidance and make it fit as we see fit. What's the pleasure of the group? Any,
Aye.
make a motion? Leave it alone?
Aye.
To be more specific, I
that's-
think we should be more specific. Water is a critical
Sure.
Okay.
area.
Okay. We have a motion to bring back
Motion to bring,
suggestions?
motion to bring back suggestions regarding water.
Why not?
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
I don't know if we need a voice vote, just all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Bring your suggestions, and as I say, try to get the suggestions to Lisa maybe a week ahead of time, and then she can compile them and bring them to the meeting. Is that acceptable?
Lisa, can I have your email there? They were very good, thank
I
you.
have my cards here, and as you walk out this evening, if you want to take one, I'd be happy to. They're brand new.
Okay.
You have a card too, Sanderson?
I will also give you one at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion, we'll move on. Yes? Gil?
I don't know if it's my place here right now to say this or say it in front of city council at a meeting, but 2 years ago, I'll give you a quick rundown. 2 years ago, I lived just east of Barber Street, a few blocks, and my neighbors knew that I was on the board 2 years ago, and they kept complaining to me about the swale problem. Out of, I would say hypothetically, 35 homes, 25 of those people are over the age of 65. The water problem for us in our section is that the water in the lateral swale does not move down towards Barber Street and down towards Angler and past that. It gets trimmed when the grass or weeds that I can't identify grow, they just seem to be cut. Doing that for several years since I've moved into Sebastian, the water, no matter if it's a light thunderstorm, accumulates on the street, continues to run down our street from the neighboring, I have a whole list of what streets, inundated with water in the swales and cannot be maintained. The city says it's the homeowner's responsibility. I thought I was catching an amoeba trying to clean my swale 2 years ago. So it gave me, and then knowing that lateral swale, and I'll tell you the street corner, it's between Melrose and Autumn Terrace. That lateral swale that runs south is very high between the homes there, and it just accumulates with water. The city has come out and during the hurricane and even this past rain about 3 days ago, the street was flooded for 3.5 blocks in every direction, north, south, east, and west, that it hit the corner. So it is a big concern. The weeds, if you drive around and just take a look at the quarter rounds, those quarter round swales are growing. I have a gentleman across the street, beautiful lawn, beautiful. I don't mind having weeds as long as it's green and I'm cut, it looks good. He meticulously maintains it, and now the weeds are growing in his swale. It's 2 blocks from the lateral swale. So you can imagine, I'll give you another quick example. Melrose to Bywood is inundated with the swale water on the quarter rounds. Seagrass to Carnation and Arbor Rose, that side. Perch Lane to Rose Arbor. Quarry Lane, which is where my street is, to Autumn Terrace, horrendous. Everything flows from the other side streets, turns the corner on Quarry Lane. A block and a half later is the lateral swale, which runs south. Totally inundated with water, up to my knee. And it's been there quite a long time. Not just from the storms, but every time it rains, the water just does not recede, doesn't go down. It seriously needs a dredging operation. Not sure how long a process, what type of equipment you're going to use, or can the city use, or the county. It's a big issue. I'm sure it's like that, and we did have a couple of people a couple of years back, and they would go in once a year and they would clean those quarter rounds. But that encompasses about maybe more than just about a half a mile square, if not more, if you drove around the neighborhood. Thank you.
And you're stealing my thunder. Okay. The next section is staff matters. So do staff have any concerns or
No, sir,
issues
I
for
believe
us?
we're good.
Okay. The next item on the agenda for the new folks on the board is member matters, and if there are any concerns or things that you want to bring up, as Gil just did, this is your opportunity. Items quite often in this discussion will become the agenda items for future meetings because we just don't have the information or whatever at this point in time. So that's what the point of member matters is. So Nicole, do you have any items or things for?
No. I think I'm just going to observe for this one, for this meeting,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll just go one by one.
Not really, but I will say that, this idea of the drainage in front of one's homes and the plastic things that are put inside there, as a homeowner here for 3 years, I never knew it was my responsibility to keep that thing, cleaned out. So, I mean, in that sense, I don't know if in the welcome packages that we get, maybe that could be mentioned, because it does help, obviously, drain when there's not grass, especially if you have St. Augustine.
Put it on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's it.
Okay. Gil, anything else?
Yeah, the soil management situation, I think, needs to be addressed by the city, especially the lateral soils.
I was able to update the save the date for the Earth Day celebration, and I cleaned my slate on my plans for next year to start over from scratch, but I do need help from the city to do the registration form. I'm not sure if Barbara did that in the past, but I only have a PDF available to me, so I cannot edit it and put the new date in it. So is Barbara my go-to for that, or?
I will check with Barbara and we'll advise at the next meeting, or I will probably call you to let you know if you need to do that before the next meeting. But I believe it is with Barbara.
I'm ready to start contacting the vendors, but I need my registration form available to do that.
I just confirmed with Barbara, and yes, she is the contact person.
Thank you. Instant gratification.
Recognize her.
Okay.
No, I don't have anything.
I'm going to had passed out just at the beginning of the meeting a page with stormwater thoughts and questions at the very top. These are some things that run through my mind as Gil also articulated. A few years ago, we had issues with bulkheads. I'm not certain how that was ultimately resolved. Some of the suggestions that I heard seemed kind of strange. But I put together this 2-page, I guess, bit, and I would like to ultimately get answers to my questions. I think we need to address some of the questions. There's a number of requests for preventive maintenance of the stormwater collection system. In my backyard, I have a ditch. I have not seen the invert of the pipe in that ditch even during our drought periods. It has a foot of water sitting in the pipe. So we do have some issues out there, and they are not cheap issues to resolve. So we need to discuss funding. I don't know how to address each one of these. I don't know if we want to have the personnel in the city that are responsible for this activity to maybe do a report for the board, or what would be your suggestion, Lisa?
Mr. Chair, I'll provide you whatever answers I can in whatever format you would like. However, I did get the opportunity to sit down with the city manager, Mr. Griffin, today, and I have a little bit of feedback that I would like to share with you at this time. Would that be all right? And it may not answer all of your questions, and I'd be happy to do that at a later date. But for now, if you would permit me, as you've mentioned under the bulkhead maintenance, and I'm just giving this for the new members of the board, back in, was it 2015, I believe, correct?
That's about right. Yeah.
There was a report by a company who did an assessment of all of the bulkheads in the city. And they gave them a ranking, whether they were failing or if they were maintained, or, you know, if they were on private property or if they were on public property. The problem or the issue is that there's a lot of cities, in fact, that were built by, it's generally known as the GDC. They were the General Development Corporation. And so a lot of the subdivisions were built, the roads put in, the lots created, the bulkheads installed, and then they disappeared. So, and then people came in and actually developed them and put in the homes and all of that good stuff. So most of the bulkheads are on private property. And so they can't be the city's responsibility at this point because they are on private property. However, very timely, your request to look into this, Mr. Clifton, because at the council meeting on the 11th, the council will be considering a contract with a firm to do a replacement program, to come up with a replacement plan and a replacement program. And so that is good news, and hopefully we will move forward with some type of action on some of these bulkheads that are possibly deteriorating and impinging the stormwater flow within those canals. It's interesting to note that 30% of the properties are sloped without bulkheads, without any type of formed wall on the waterways. So it'll be interesting to find out what this company comes back with, if, again, the council is considering the contract. So it's not in writing as of yet. I want to make that very clear. There are several, one of the questions I asked was, what have other communities like ours, that were developed like ours, done with this same situation? And I think it would be interesting to go back to those communities and see. I know Palm Bay is a big GDC developed city. Port St. Lucie, Marco Island, they were another cities such as that. And so it'd be interesting to see how they're addressing their bulkhead. If you'd like to do that, Mr. Clinton. That would be wonderful. Just a suggestion, sir. So there was that. I wanted to make sure you all knew about that. It'll be on the council meeting on the 11th. As far as the stormwater management plan, Mr. Gordian, excuse me, you've brought up, this is stormwater is near and dear to my heart. It is something that I've been doing for many years, and wetlands on top of it, but as part of it, I should say. And it would be also interesting to look at, and again, forgive me, week 3, I haven't looked at everything yet. So I'm sure the city has proper BMPs in place, best management plans for the stormwater system, and they have I know that they have a stormwater master plan. It would be interesting to look at it and see perhaps what this board might recommend to offer improvements. There's also grants. I actually got a grant for Indian Harbor Beach to do this, to help them with their current stormwater master plan in addressing kind of the low-hanging fruit. What improvements can be made, some simple LIDs, which is low-impact designs, and BMPs within the city that were, cost-effective, if you will. Small, like putting, I'll give you a quick example if I can. Like if you have a boulevarded street, but it's sloping away from the boulevard, the median, and if you know anything about Indian Harbor Beach, it's all curbed and guttered. It's a beautiful, beautiful community, but it's mainly curbed and guttered. So how do we get then the road runoff into, a swale or gutter? So we came up with, oh good Lord, they actually cut grooves in the road and put in their own little graded swales, if you will, to drive the water into a swale system along the road or into a perforated drain or something of that nature. So that may be something we want to look at. And with your concerns, I think this would be a wonderful program, if you will, that this board could assist us in doing. But, you know, the swales are just like the bulkheads. You know, the stormwater system in your residential developments, in your subdivisions, were built by the developer, and it's part of the homeowners association's maintenance, you know, agreements to take care of it. And so what do you do now, now that it's, you know, 30 years later? So perhaps there's things we could all look at. Perhaps there could be an educational program. I think that you had that, Mr. Clifton, some type of educational program to help, yes, what can we do that is cost effective? Those are just my suggestions. But I would be happy if it's the board's desire to answer these in any way that you'd like.
We get a copy of the city drainage programs, or how, so we can take a look at how
There's
it
a
works, how
stormwater.
it's supposed to work, I mean.
And everything runs fine. Let's say, for example, down my block, everything runs downhill, so to speak. But it's, the one major issue is the larger lateral swale. I'm not talking about a canal, it's a little wider. The one in my section is fairly wide, pretty clean, a few trees, but you cannot just keep cutting the weeds. What happens after 5, 6, 7, 8 years that I've been there, that's all that's being done. So the earth is gradually rising. So the water that runs down affects a half a mile of homestead in a square. And not only mosquitoes, it's also detrimental to the blacktop, so it's not cost effective to the city if it's not properly maintained in that respect. They'll have to blacktop it again if it's city land or a road, what have you. It's just going to tumble.
It's got to be properly maintained, period.
And that in turn runs down to the canals.
Would the stormwater management plan, is it available in PDF format, or how would it be available?
Again, I'm so sorry. Third week. I'm trying to remember where I found the map. It was in the microfiche, but I'm not sure if that's available on the website. If you know the city's website, there's microfiche. If you look under additional information, you probably are there. Whether that map is there or not, I really couldn't tell you. But that's where I would look first. But also under Muni codes, we have our stormwater management ordinances, and I would be happy to bring a copy of those along with the map for this board the next meeting if they would like.
This has been an ongoing topic over the few years that I've been on the board, so I think we probably need to keep this as an agenda item until we get a little more comfortable with it, that we are going in the direction we want to be going, because as Gil says, it's cutting the weeds. Those guys, I feel sorry for those guys in the summer, but they do an awesome job. They do cut the weeds, and they cut them down well, but that's not what we need in many areas at this point in time. Okay, without further ado, I guess we'll try to secure stormwater management plan, and you believe it should be available on the website. So we'll check that out and add this to next month's agenda to do some follow-up. Any other items for the agenda for next month?
Earth Day update.
Right.
Right, that will be on there until Earth Day.
From now until April.
Everything that's planned, so that when we start doing advertising, help plug in.
Pretty much after Christmas, once we have everything in place.
Just after Christmas, we'll know all that.
And that's what I'm asking for help with, is activities.
Yeah.
Last year, we had rock painting, the scavenger hunt, a little question and answers for the door prizes. Chalk art, I hope to have Alexis back from Stormwater again.
Pine cones and peanut butter?
Yeah,
Only if you
no
want to
peanut
see
butter.
Mr. Chair,
Any,
may I just ask Ms.
Yes.
Glazer? Ms. Glazer, do you have a kind of like a schedule set up as to when certain things need to be done by?
I have a plan set up, yes.
Wonderful, that's wonderful.
And it has all the contact information, everything's on it, so if I ever hand it over to someone else, they can take it and have everything in front of them.
Perfect.
Yeah, we all each get a copy of what
Every month. So today I just cleaned off all of last year's information to start over fresh.
and at the end of the last Earth Day, she developed a number of emails that she sent us that contained the vast majority of that material, so maybe you could just share those with Margarita. Yeah,
I believe that might have been in June. I did a final
yeah.
update on my plans and my vendor list, so everybody would have the copies.
It's kind of like an SOP at this point in time. She's got it down pat. Any other items to throw out there? Okay. Hearing none, adjourn the meeting.